Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, what a beautiful life I've got. And if I haven't, who can I blame? Interesting question. I was shared a very long time ago a very confrontational and tough piece of advice. And it went like this. Rowie, if you ate it, if you spent it, if you interviewed for it, if you dated yourself into it, you did it. Every meal I've ever eaten, I was there. Every exercise session I did, I was there. Every exercise session I chose not to do, that was my choice. Every person I've put into my life has been my choice, including my family, and that was a very tough piece of advice again that came, Rowie, if these people weren't your family, would you have them in your life? If you have people treating you disrespectfully and you put up with it, whose fault is it? And it's an interesting question, isn't it? Blame and fault versus this very strong statement. Rowie, you are your own fault. And really tough to deal with when you're trying to blame other people. And I was certainly trying to do that. The position I'm in right now can't possibly be my fault. And then I had to face reality. I had to stop being delusional that everything that I do is my choice. I'm an adult. And it's interesting because when I was a child, I very specifically remember not wanting to be told what to do. How about you? I didn't like it when teachers told me what to do. I didn't like it when my parents told me what to do. I wanted to be in control of what I ate and what I wore and where I went and when I did it. And as an adult, the really cool thing about being an adult is all of that is our choice. And yet when we become adults, we like to lay blame for how our life is or what our life has become onto other people. And I certainly understand that because I was doing it until I got that great piece of advice. Rowie, if you're fat, you ate it. If you're broke, you spent it. If you're in a crappy relationship, you put yourself in there. If you hate your job, you put yourself there. Now, I'm very privileged. That last one, I've never had a lousy, stinking, rotten job. But I've certainly been out of shape. I've had terrible relationships. I've been broke. And that was all my fault. And I had to take responsibility for that. And it's interesting because we seem to live in a world now, have you noticed, that people are looking for very specific areas to blame. It's the government's fault. It's the school's fault. It's the parents' fault. It's the teacher's fault. It's the preacher's fault. Everybody's got somebody to blame. But if we take full responsibility for our life, and as I always share, the same very passionate psychiatrist who was a member at one of my health clubs who shared with me that if I'm fat, I ate it, also shared that if you want to be mentally strong, you have to take full responsibility for your life. The less responsibility you take, the more mentally weak you become. And I certainly didn't want to have a label of being mentally weak. I don't want to be mentally unhealthy. I want to have a strong brain. I want to have a strong body. And of course, they go together. So I had to put my life into place. I couldn't ask somebody else to do it for me. And that's the beautiful thing about being an adult, isn't it? We get to choose what we eat, how much exercise we do or don't do. We get to choose what we wear. We get to choose what we say, and we get to choose what we think. And now they're really tough because a lot of people don't take that into account. I tell my own brain what I want to think about. If I'm thinking about something that I don't want to think about, or it's negative, or it's not adding value to my own thought space, I can stop that process and say, I'm not going to think about that anymore. I'm going to think about something else. And again, that same process of having a successful life could go like this, and again, explained to me beautifully by the top neuroscientists, psychologists, and psychiatrists in the world. I get to choose my words, which means, of course, I get to choose my thoughts. What I think about could then control my actions, and my actions control my results. So whatever my results are, and if I don't like them, I have to go back and say, okay, if I don't like what's happened to me, what action did I take to make that happen? What thoughts did I tell myself about the actions that I took? And could I change that? And it's one of the reasons why I'm so focused on vocabulary. I absolutely have a reputation of somebody that has very positive words, and there's obviously a reason for that, yeah? If I say negative words, I'm going to have a negative headspace, you too. If I say horrible things about people and I've got ugly stuff going on in my brain, how can I possibly expect to be a happy, positive person? If I describe something in the negative, how can I have a brain that now looks at it from the positive? I call the days of the week magical day, terrific day, wow day, thankful day, fun day Friday, super day Saturday, sparkle day Sunday for a reason. Most people hate Mondays, but I call it magical day. How can you hate a day called magical day? People say it's raining or the weather's really bad. I'm always excited about all the weather. There's free water coming out of the sky. It's a platinum day. It's a great day for flying kites. I don't have any control over the weather, so why would I talk negatively about it? Everything that happens to me, negative or positive, I'm aiming to put a positive spin on it. I want to take responsibility for how I react or respond to something. And that's, again, a great piece of advice given to me by the best head doctors in the world, is I don't get to control a lot of the things that happen in the world, but I have complete and full control over how I respond or react to them. Isn't that awesome? So I can react to the weather, oh, it's so hot today, versus, wow, it's warm because it's summer, and isn't that fantastic? And then if you take responsibility and if you don't like hot weather, don't live where it's hot. If you don't like cold weather, move. The interesting thing about travel is you can be on this side of the world where it's boiling hot, and in 12 hours, 24 hours later, you could be on the other side of the world skiing. That's called a choice. People say to me, but I can't afford to do that. Well, again, I've been taught, Rowie, you have to take responsibility for your financial situation. If you're broke, you spent it. And we live in a world now, and I always use this example because a lot of people share with me that I can't be wealthy, I can't be financially free, I can't be financially successful. And the first thing I always ask is, how much does it cost to go to the library? Now, you might not have been to the library for a long time, and you might not be able to afford to buy books, but the library is for free. And everything that you've ever wanted to learn is at the library. You can go there and learn how to become a great communicator, which means you'll be good at sales, which means every company in the world will want you in their business. And it's the blanket statement that I always make. Every company in the world needs great salespeople. Doesn't matter what product or service any company is in, whether it's a charity or a sporting team or a Coca-Cola or the bank or the lawn mowing business or the concert hall. Everybody needs great salespeople. And if you can communicate effectively, that means you can then sell a product effectively, which means there's a career path for you anywhere in the world, which means you can make money. And if you can make money, then you get to control what you do with that money. It's one of those things that I had to take responsibility for. I'm my own fault. I've been earning a stack of money since I was 10 years of age, but I didn't learn how to look after my money. And then I blamed, well, who did I blame? I tried to blame my school for not teaching me, my parents for not teaching me. The simple thing of compound interest, pay yourself first, invest wisely. There's a whole heap of things about finances that are really easy to understand if you study finances. And here's some great advice again given to me. Rowie, if you want to be happy, study happiness. If you want to be wealthy, study wealth. If you want to have a great career path, get better at what you do. So study and learn and train to get better at what you do. So that all happened to me. I'm very privileged at a very young age. I took responsibility for my weight, my height. I'll rephrase that. I use that as an example. I can't change my height, but I can certainly control what I look like. I can't change my genetics, my DNA, but I've got control over what I do with those genetics and that DNA. And I love sharing all the different stories of people that were told they can't do it, it's not possible, it won't work for you, and they did it anyway. There's a beautiful Brazilian ballet dancer who has no arms. There's a professional dancer, Jean Souk, he has one leg and he's a professional dancer. There are people that can't read and write and they have successful businesses. There are sports people that were told that they're not good enough for their sport and now they're getting paid millions of dollars a year to play their sport. There were people that were told they're not smart enough and now they've got very successful businesses and they're multi-millionaires, if not billionaires. That's called taking responsibility, regardless of your DNA, your genetics, your background, your culture, all of those things. Is it possible? And as I always share, my personal story is not to brag. My personal story is to share it is possible. So I had an amazing telephone call. I was 39 years young, and it was from a television show in Australia to share with me that I was one of the richest people in Australia under the age of 40. And there's two parts to this story that are really cool. One is I didn't know how much I was worth, and they thought that was hilarious, that I was one of the richest people in a country, but I didn't know how much I was worth, because what I do has never been for the money. It's because I want to do what I love. And the second part of that is how do you do that? And for me, it's exactly the reason why I'm here at Romax. I'm healthy, fit and strong, and how can I do anything if I'm weak and unfit and unhealthy? So being healthy, fit and strong then can drive a human brain and a human body to do whatever it wants to. I've had a career or business that I love my entire life. I've never had a lousy, stinking, rotten job. When you keep getting better and better at what you do, you become more valuable to every organisation. And I learnt that at a very young age. Rowie, if you want to earn money, you have to be valuable. It's never about the money. It's about how much value you add to an organisation, to a business, and that's where the money comes from. And then if you want to have great relationships, you have to become a great person. It's not about blaming other people for being horrible. We've got no control over other people. The only person we have full control over is ourselves. You and I get to decide whether or not we're healthy, fit and strong, whether or not we have a career or business that we love, whether or not we're financially free, and we get to choose who we put into our life. I am my own fault. So if I love my life, I'm going to take full responsibility for the fact that I love my life and be proud of it rather than try and hide it. And if I don't like my life and it's in a position that I'm not happy with everything that's happening in my life, then do I need to say, Rowie, you're your own fault. Bloody fix it. And I'm just very privileged that I fixed it at a young age, and I've had the ultimate privilege of living a wonderful life with all sorts of challenges and problems and hassles and horrible people and good and bad experiences and awesome and terrible experiences, and all sorts of things have happened. But when you love who you are because you're mentally tough and physically fit and strong, is it possible that you can learn to love everything, every kind of weather, every kind of person, every kind of experience? And that's called taking full responsibility for your life rather than blaming somebody else. So maybe when you look in the mirror, look yourself in the eye and say, I am my own fault, and or everything that I've done, I have made it happen. Don't blame somebody else, Rowie. Take responsibility for your own life. And that's a very special experience for me on a day-to-day basis, because I can look in my mirror and say, I love my life. Robbie Williams, another really unique individual who was told that his voice wasn't good enough to be a rock star, and yet he sells out stadiums. And he wrote that beautiful song for his kids, I Love My Life. And the song goes, I want you to love your life. Things are going to happen. I'd love to take the challenges away, but if you don't learn to appreciate your own challenges and become tough and strong to overcome those challenges, then how can you have a great life? Take full responsibility for your life so that you can love your life. I love my life because it's wonderful and beautiful and it's awesome, and we all could have a beautiful life too. Woo-hoo!